Well, the ACTU conference took up a lot of time in the media this week. Not all would have worked for the union movement, but nevertheless it was there. But new leadership, there were some thought-provoking speeches, I think, along the way. But Bill Kelty and Julia Gillard, I think, virtually agreed to differ on a couple of points. Let's hear from them.
Why is the Australian Labor Party so unpopular? Well, in some sense, it's got me beat. I've got to be frank, it's too easy to blame the media.
But I do understand, as I'm sure you understand as well, the frustration that can come from the headlines in the daily newspapers, where, when you look at those headlines with all of their horror, the schlock and horror that modern media reporting runs to, the achievements of this minority parliament aren't seen for what they are.
And there's no purpose blaming the opposition for doing what, after all, you would expect them to do, and that's to beat you.
I understand that Australians have been screamed at now by the opposition for more than a year. They've been told that they need to be very afraid. They've been screamed at relentlessly, and we all know a good fear campaign when we see one.
In a sense, I think we make politics just simply too hard. The truth will normally do.
Now, there's a difference in emphasis there. I suppose you could understand that Bill Kelty could more easily dismiss the pressures that come on from the media and the opposition than Julia Gillard can, but...
That's true, but it's hard to disagree with his kind of kicker, isn't it? That, you know, mostly the truth will do it. You know, that's pretty much...
Although there's a bit of a puzzle there in the sense that we do have very low unemployment. This is what Bill Kelty was talking about and why he said he was beaten. Living standards have risen in this country, other than for people right at the bottom of the heap. So that
by 20% over the last 6 years, according to that latest survey, and around $200 a week for average Australians. So I think an improvement over the last 6 years. That's not the way they see it.
Yeah, I think in some ways the Bill Clinton thing about it's the economy, Stu, but no longer applies. We've got pretty good economic indicators compared to the rest of the world. However, I think that's outweighed. What people dislike Julia Gillard more than they like the living standards rise. And additionally, there's another factor, and that's that the aspirational class are much more forceful in their views, and nothing you can do, any political party could do, would ever satisfy the aspirations of the aspirational class, so that although their living standards in a sort of objective sense are going up, they're not happy.
Yeah, but even, and on that point, the Sydney Morning Herald on Wednesday, I think in the business section, ran a graphic, and it compared Australia to Spain. Now, the Spanish feel more financially secure than Australians do, and they've got 24% unemployment, and they feel more secure than we do. Phil, why?
Oh, no idea.
What's going on?
No idea. The guy who was cutting my hair last week, what hair it was shaping what I've got left, was just a normal barber, and he was going off his brain about we're worse than Greece, and I said no, we're not. I've picked it up. I've got no idea. I think successfully there has been. The opposition has been successful. Going back, I think Gillard's error in that speech. It's okay to I'm not getting a good run from sections of the media, and Tony Abbott's very effective, but you've got to acknowledge a bit of self-error yourself. Surely there's plenty. I think that was a gaping hole in that speech, and it was disingenuous in that regard.
I think there's an element here that by no means a full explanation, and that is that we have, through compulsory superannuation, we have a higher exposure to the very volatile share market, about 60% in shares, that other countries don't do. And I think people, when shares are going up and down, they went down by 5.7% or something last week. Everyone's sort of worried about, will I have enough money? What's happening to my money?
We're confusing income which is going okay with wealth, and our big wealth incomes, I guess, are
house
and your house and your super, and they're both taking a hit.
Both fairly flat at the moment. I mean, one aspect of the ACTU conference I thought that hit me a little bit was that this sort of you couldn't see either Kevin Rudd or Wayne Swan sharing the sort of misty-eyed nostalgia for the Kelty-Keating era, when you remember that Keating actually led the Labor Party to a landslide defeat in 1996 after he induced, he was largely responsible for a very nasty recession. John Edwards' biography makes very clear it wasn't the recession we had to have, it was the recession we didn't have to have. Whereas those two politicians today, Swan and Rudd, have avoided a recession, but they're getting no thanks. Partly, I think, because people don't thank you for something that didn't happen to them.
But when Bill Kelty said tell the truth, What if you were to, as a politician, to tell the truth and say, look, you're all banging on about declining living standards. In fact, your living standards are better now than they were 6 years ago. How would that go over?
Well, I think a lot better than saying, look, we feel your pain, which is basically what they're saying.
And both sides are saying that, yeah,
Exactly.
we feel your pain. They say it constantly.